Well, the Lakers season is over before it even began. They dropped preseason game number 1 and therefore it's time to pack it up, right? Obviously completely joking. I mean, Twitter might have you believe otherwise here, but no, it's not time to give up. It's not time to completely write them off here. Yes, it's not fun to lose a game, even a game that doesn't count like, again, a preseason game, but they were in fact playing without LeBron, Luka Doncic, even guys like Marcus Smart, Gabe Vincent, Adu Thero, and they have a lot to learn from this game, but it's not the end of the world here. In fact, I think there's actually something we can learn from it, even more that they can learn from it, be better from it, and really take it as a learning lesson that they can move forward with and then apply to the games that actually count. So with that in mind here, we're going to talk about 5 things that they can learn from this, or maybe that we learn about the Lakers from this. Again, both offensively, defensively, individually wise, and much more. So we're going to talk about that and try to break it all down here. But real quick before we get too far into it, if you have been enjoying the everyday content, then I greatly would appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But without further ado, now getting into our topic here, and for takeaway number 1, I would say that Vanderbilt, aka Jared Vanderbilt, does in fact look like the pre-injury version of himself. You know, we heard about it throughout training camp. JJ Redick directly brought it up and mentioned that he looked a whole lot better and again like the pre-injury version of himself, and I think he proved it out there too. Now if you're simply a box score watcher, it might not look like it. Vanderbilt playing 21 minutes and dropping a grand total of 1 point, 2 rebounds, going 0 for 4 from the field and 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, but that's never the perfect way to evaluate Jared Vanderbilt. In fact, if you want to truly evaluate Jared Vanderbilt, you have to turn on the game and actually watch him play, aka using the eye test, as you're not going to see him pop off on offense from a numbers standpoint. You're going to see him on the court and have to evaluate him again with the eye test on defense. And well, I think that was apparent last night. Again, you're not going to find it from a numbers standpoint, at least not really anyways. Kind of, I guess, with the individual matchup with Devin Booker. That was his primary matchup when they were both on the court. And during the first quarter, he did hold Devin Booker to 4 points on 1 of 4 from the field. But I'm more so talking about the way that Vanderbilt was moving on the court, his side-to-side movement, north-to-south movement, simply his ability to guard the 3-point line and kind of get back that old role that he filled, not the defensive kind of 4-5 role that he filled last season, which Redick has talked about him kind of being forced to fill, as they're a very small post-trade deadline after trading Anthony Davis and not being able to acquire another center apart from Jackson Hayes, so he was kind of thrust into that role despite it not being the perfect fit. But now with him getting back to that defensive pest kind of role for their team, taking on the toughest matchup and often the most difficult guard matchup on the court, Vanderbilt showed that he can do that and likely will be able to get back to it. You know, again taking on the Devin Booker matchup last night, doing fairly well at times, albeit not perfect. I thought he looked pretty good athletically, maybe has some work to do conditioning wise yet, as I think he did get a bit tired there in the second half. But overall I liked the way he looked on defense. I thought he defended Booker pretty well, kept up with him pretty well, jumped a few passing lanes and had 1 steal and 1 block to show for it. And overall I'm happy with Jared Vanderbilt and confident in his ability to fill that defensive pest role for their team full time again. However, while I was happy with him defensively, I was a little bit let down offensively. Now I'm never expecting too much from Vanderbilt offensively. Again, it's not really good to point to the numbers here with him, but from the training camp hype about his 3-point shot and improved 3-point shooting motion, I was hoping for him to knock down at least 1. And like I said, I like the fact that he attempted 3 of them, went 0 for 3 but was not afraid to take them. I thought his shooting motion was a little bit quicker, even looked a little bit better in general, but it did not show any production quite yet. Going 0 for 3 and the fact that he didn't make one was a little bit disappointing, but he has plenty of time left to eventually make one and maybe kind of improve the doubt upon his 3-point shooting motion, that he might be able to become a decent 3-point shooting option for them this season. But again, up until this point that's not been proven to be true quite yet. Though apart from Jared Vanderbilt, another takeaway from preseason game number 1 that I had was the energy and effort, particularly on defense, that DeAndre Ayton played with. And no, I'm not joking about that. I mean, I know he talked about it throughout training camp and during his introductory press conference, but to actually show it is another thing entirely. And at least up until this point, he was able to show it. Whether you're talking about it from a numbers standpoint, having 2 blocks and 1 steal to show for it, but more importantly from the eye test and what he actually showed on the court, switching on defense, getting back and offering rim protection, deflecting passes, and even a few lob passes at the rim, simply showing the effort at pretty much all times on defense. Ayton was able to show it and prove that he is trying to make that effort and improvement on defense too. I for one loved it. He only had 1 point offensively, and that definitely will improve with LeBron and Luka Doncic and simply more playmakers out there for him to play with, but the defense was definitely there with him. He didn't care that he wasn't really getting involved that much offensively, didn't care that he wasn't getting many touches, something that previously had been a problem for DeAndre Ayton, often leading to a lower effort output from him on the court, but that wasn't the case last night. Even with that, and regardless of it, was putting in work on defense. Whether you're talking about the 2 blocks, the 1 steal to show for it, simply the energy and effort that you definitely can point to, switching on defense, deflecting passes, and even deflecting a few lob passes at the rim, he was putting in work on defense and he made a concerted effort to show for it too. However, the question is now, was that simply a good first impression from him? Was he simply trying to impress Laker fans and doing it from a short-term standpoint? Or will it actually continue with him throughout the entire season? That's what he's got to prove and what he has to maintain now throughout the entire season. Again, I am not worried about him offensively. With the addition of Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and the rest of their playmakers back in the court with him, I think the offense will come with him and that's not a problem. But the defense and the regular effort on defense will be something to watch with DeAndre Ayton. However, from a first impression and what he tried to prove last night, I was very impressed with him. And here's quickly what he had to say about it.
Yeah, I wanted to show the team I'm more committed on the defensive end more than the offensive end in a way. Like I say from the get-go, I'm not really here for numbers. I'm just here for whatever the Lakers really want me to do. And, main objective is really protecting that rim and closing out possessions. And I had fun, man, just, blocking some shots today and, just being that anchor and, seeing how the guys are responding to me, just the terminology and stuff like that, just to get out and just be out in our offense and create from our defense. So it was fun. It was fun today, honestly.
Overall here, I love what Ayton both showed on the court and had to say about what he tried to do on the court last night. So fingers crossed here that he will be able to maintain it. But then moving on to takeaway number 3, I'd simply point to the Lakers' size out there on the court. I mean, even without Luka Doncic, who is 6'7", even without LeBron James, who is 6'9", they rolled out a starting lineup of Austin Reeves, who's 6'5", Jake LaRavia, who's 6'8", Jared Vanderbilt, who's 6'8", Rui Hachimura, who's 6'8", and DeAndre Ayton, who's 7 foot. And that's not to mention playing guys like Jackson Hayes off the bench, who's 7 foot, even Christian Koloko, who's 7'1", and overall having a pretty damn big team. That's definitely a stark contrast compared to their team post-trade deadline, running small ball lineups with Dorian Finney-Smith playing the 5, Jared Vanderbilt playing the 5, heck, even LeBron playing the 5 at times. That's now a big difference to their team, and it will be something they have to get used to. I mean, they don't have the ability to be as switchable defensively anymore, maybe not as versatile offensively, and maybe not as good of a 3-point shooting team, but they do have advantages that they can point to and should be able to take advantage of too. Whether you're talking about the rebounds and getting more offensive rebounds for their team, more chances to actually put up points and maybe get kickouts for 3-point shots, whether you're talking about the lob threat ability, always having at least one of Ayton, Hayes, or some other lob threat on the court, the better rim protection, whether that be with Ayton, Hayes, or even Koloko, having a true rim protector, that should be an advantage. Again, simply pointing to their height and length on the court. If they're better able to figure it out and how to take advantage of it on both ends of the court, it should be a major benefit to their team. It simply has to be something they get used to and find ways to take better advantage of it. But then moving on to takeaway number 4 here, I'd point to their offense schematically and really their entire scheme on the court. I'd simply point to them not being used to it quite yet, compared to Phoenix, who maybe ran a more simple scheme, but it worked a whole lot better for them. The Lakers definitely don't have their offense or defense down quite yet. The guys simply weren't ready out there to run it. You could tell that a few of them were lagging a bit behind and really couldn't do it quite at full speed yet, which isn't that shocking with only 3 days of training camp under their belt, not to mention with 5+ new additions on their team. It will take some time. So don't get too anxious about it. The fact that they shot poorly from the 3-point line, were not able to get many quality shots directly from their offense quite yet, definitely weren't using their entire playbook quite yet. Don't freak out about it, but it is something that I will point to. They're really not up to speed schematically, again offensively or defensively quite yet, hurt by a lack of their available playmakers being out, Luka, LeBron, Marcus Smart, heck even Gabe Vincent were not out there, so they were hurt by that, but definitely are lagging a bit behind in regard to their offensive playbook. But then for my fifth and final takeaway, I point to a rotation battle and two guys that are currently on the outside looking in of the rotation that did not do themselves any favors last night. Talking about Dalton Knecht and Bronny James. Between the two of them, they weren't very effective offensively, combining to go 2 of 15 from the field, or rather 2 of 15 from the 3-point line, only 3 of 22 from the field, and obviously not very good. Defensively, they weren't that good. Knecht, actually probably being better than Bronny last night on defense. Bronny getting lost in a few plays, his screen navigation not being that good, and simply not being quite up to speed quite yet, something they talked about and not having his legs under him quite yet. But they definitely did not do themselves any favors, with neither Marcus Smart, Gabe Vincent, or a few other guys not out there on the court. Again, only talking about a preseason, and not to mention the very first preseason game of the year for their team and for these two directly, but it definitely was not a very good first impression. For two guys that are trying to gain favor from JJ Redick, trying to impress the head coach, and trying to show that they can be in the rotation, it was not a good first showing for them, neither offensively or defensively. Knecht has got to be a better 3-point shooter. He definitely was defended pretty well last night and their offense wasn't working very well, but he did miss a couple of open shots too. Bronny got to his spots in the court but wasn't able to convert offensively, again going 1 for 12 from the field. Defensively was not what we wanted him to be, wasn't the good defensive guard out there, wasn't a good screen navigator, even getting beat backdoor a couple of times, so both of them do have to show improvement and do it pretty quickly too. Overall here though, those would have to be my takeaways from their first preseason game so far. Definitely both some positives and negatives to point to. Schematically not very good yet, but I think individually from Jared Vanderbilt to DeAndre Ayton, definitely a lot to like here so far too. And with that being said, what do you guys think? What are your takeaways from their first preseason game, both from an offensive, defensive, and an individual standpoint too? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.